What is your full name, sir?
John McHugh, M-C-H-U-G-H.
Where and when were you born?
Was born in Union City, New Jersey at 714 7th Street, Union City, New Jersey, the first floor, the bedroom in the Coldwater flat.
When?
In March the 6th, 1924.
So how old are you right now?
I'm 93.
Do you feel like you're 93?
No.
How old do you feel?
103. No, I feel good.
What branch of the military were you in during World War II?
The infantry.
And what specific units were you attached to? Your division, regiment, and company, please.
I was in the 1st Infantry Division, the 18th Regiment, Company D.
And what was your specific role in Company D?
My role? Well, I went from machine gunner to mortar gunner to the outpost.
To the what?
Outpost, or the where you fire the guns. They were in the back.
Artillery?
No. Mortars, and I can't even think what
Were
I'm.
you a forward observer for the mortar?
Yeah, observers. Yeah, I fired the guns from where I was sitting in the front. I'd go out there and look for something to fire, and I'd tell them where to go. There you go.
So you were a forward observer.
Yeah, forward observer.
And what was the highest rank you achieved by the time you left the service?
I was a corporal right away, and in come sergeants and everything else, and I ran out of corporal.
So you said you were born in New Jersey. Did you grow up there as well?
I did till I finished the 8th grade, and then I went to New York.
Talk to me about growing up in the Depression years. What do you remember about that?
My father was in World War I. He died when I was 4 years old. Me and my mother had a house. He bought a house. The people upstairs didn't pay rent for about a year. So we got thrown out on the street, all our furniture. And then from there, we were on welfare. We got a beautiful apartment in Union City. And when I graduated from grammar school, we went to New York because the welfare was more there. And me and my mother on welfare all the way till I went in the Army.
Were there any specific things that you saw going on around you that really made you aware that there was a Great Depression?
Sure, me knew we'd had canned food that when you opened it, the smell was terrible. But we had to eat it. It was the only thing they had. We were really down, me and my mother. My father died when I was 4, so we had nobody else and lost our house. Went right on to welfare.
What were the first few jobs you had growing up?
Growing up, I remember selling Christmas trees in the freezing winter on a corner in Union City. That's all. I went to school, didn't have a job. I didn't work when I was young.
How did you hear about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
Well, I was in the South Bronx with my friends, and we had been out, and it was early in the morning on Sunday, I believe it was. And somebody said they attacked Pearl Harbor. Where the hell is Pearl Harbor? Nobody knew where it was or anything about it. And that's how it was. Nobody knew where it was or what it was, but somebody attacked America, the Japs. And that was it.
What was that like when you heard that your country had been attacked?
Yeah, well, it was, we really didn't, you couldn't think too much. You didn't know nobody. What was the young kids? We were having fun, and the teenagers, and out drinking at night and not thinking about anything. But then we realized later on there was a war on and people were going away to war. That's when it hit us. We all had to go.
Take me through how you ended up in the service.
Well, I was an only child of my mother, so I didn't have to go. I could have stayed and supported her. but they'd be throwing beer cans at you in the South Bronx if you were a 4F or you didn't go away. So when I got drafted, I went down there and was standing around, and they put me in the infantry. So when we got in the infantry, we went out to Alabama, and there was about 5 or 6 of us from the Bronx in New York, and we wanted to go to movies. Our first recreation day off. So we went to the movies, and I had the money, and I get over and I put the money down on the thing, and I says, 5 for the balcony. Oh, you can't go in the balcony. That's for the black people. We didn't even know that. So we had to sit down the orchestra. And went all through basic training. Then we went up to Camp Shanks in New York to be shipped out. And we were there about 13 days. And for about 10 of those days, we sneaked out, 3 of us, went all the way home, partied, and got back the next morning in time. So, and then we shipped out on the Queen Elizabeth, the biggest ship around. And off we went to England, all by ourselves, no escorts or nothing. And I don't know how she got back and forth all the time, across that Atlantic with all those U-boats, but she did. She was too fast for them.
When did you cross the Atlantic?
Right after I was in the Army for about 9 months.
Was that on the Queen Mary you were saying?
Yeah, Queen Mary, yeah. All by herself she went across.
That was in August of 1942.
40 what?
42.
No, I don't think it was 42.
Oh, maybe it was.
I went over there, I guess, in 43 or
Oh, okay.
44.
Oh, you weren't with the first.
No, I wasn't with the first,
Okay.
no. I got with the first when I went over to England.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. When you arrived in England, the first had not yet.
The first division went to Africa.
Then
They invaded Africa. They chased Rommel out of Africa. He went into Sicily. They invaded Sicily. So that's 2 invasions they've been there. And they chased him out of Sicily. And then they got the first division, and they got them all ready. And those guys really and truly thought, and they had enough war, and they were on their way home. They landed in England, and they figured, well, we're getting on the boat and go home. This is great. And then come us, the new kids, and they knew they weren't going to go anywhere. So
I would like to know, you obviously joined the outfit before D-Day. Talk to me about your interaction with the combat veterans who'd fought in North Africa and Sicily. What kind of things did they tell you?
Oh, they were more or less, they didn't want any part of us because they wanted to go home. And when they saw the new kids coming in, they didn't want any part of us. But we blended in later on, and we went on a couple of, maneuvers around England before that, and then we got lined up to go on the invasion. So,
just to backtrack 1 second, take me through a typical day of basic training.
In England?
No, stateside.
Oh, stateside. Alabama. 90 degrees, sweating our ass off, and it was terrible. They had us out there, and we had this one Mexican sergeant, and this guy, they were falling all over from the heat. And he just kept us all moving. It was murder down there.
So you would wake up early in the morning, then what?
Well, you get up, you get your breakfast, and then you line up, and you do calisthenics, and then you'd run, and then they started teaching you some about the guns and everything, and they had a couple of classes, and then we'd run some more. We did a lot of training to keep us in shape.
And the training you did in England, talk to me about, as the invasion became closer, the 6th of June, did the training change, or did you see any noticeable differences, more personnel, more trucks? Did you know something was about to happen?
No, when there was the regular Army guys seeing us coming in, they knew something was going to happen. We were all too young and ignorant to know what the hell was going on. We just were with these veterans and trained with them, and then we got to know them. And
So what was the training you received in England? Was it any of the amphibious training?
no, they didn't have any. Yes, we did. We had one. Yes, we had a landing, and there was a big accident. A lot of guys got killed in the training. A lot of guys got killed. I don't know what happened. One of the boats sank, or it did. But there were a lot of guys killed in the training for the invasion in England before we really went in on the 6th.
That was Operation Tiger. Did you hear about that after the war or when it happened?
Tiger, I don't remember that name. I don't remember the names they called them. But
It was on Slapton Sands,
where?
Slapton Sands training area.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But all I want to know is, did you know about that when it happened, or did you
What,
learn about that after the war?
No, I knew it happened right away. Yeah.
So, take us through the invasion.
Oh, well, we're all on these big, huge boats, and then when we got time to go, they dropped the big rope ladders down into the landing crafts, and there was one guy fell down in between the ropes. He went down like a heavy rock. Then you had no time to even try to save him. He just went down. One guy just never got in the boat. He went from one boat right down to the water, sunk. And we got in these little landing crafts. It was as rough as seas you'd ever want to know. They had given us a huge breakfast about in the morning, about 3 o'clock or something. We had a huge breakfast. And we all got into these little boats, and it was crowded as hell. I don't know how many they had in there, but it's a landing craft, and you're all snuggled up close. And the waters were extremely difficult. Waves high, and we're bouncing around. And then they started throwing up all over each other, which I doubt you'll ever hear anywhere. But we got thrown up all over the place. The whole boat was thrown up. We were just covered with it. We were right next to each other. We couldn't go anywhere. And so when we got into the water, we were so glad to get into the water to get that stuff off us. Small landing crafts, and we got the front of the boat went down. We just ran into hell. It was just hell. There was on my beach, easy. I think there were 5 beaches. This one beach was easy, where the 1st Division went in. The highest casualties on the about 4 beaches, I think, or others than ours. There was the highest casualty was about 300 on one beach. We had 21 casualties on our beach. There was a German infantry division practicing for the invasion right there on Easy Beach, and nobody knew about it. The 16th went in first. They never hardly made it. Then the 18th went in. And then when I say go in, I think they landed at 6:30. I think we got in at about 7:30, the 18th. And it was an absolute disaster. 2,100 casualties.
Please describe to me, once the ramp dropped, what do you see?
Oh, it dropped off into the water, and you just started running like hell, getting off. I think the water was up to my armpits when I got out. Just started crawling up, and there were machine guns and everything all over the place. Guys falling down, getting killed all over the place. You get on the beach, you're going over bodies, and it was, you can't really describe it. It was a horror scene, There was so many people dying and screaming for their mother. It was a really bad day. But I got up there anyway. A lot of guys didn't.
How did you get protection? Did you go
There-
behind?
There was no, you just crawl and crawl up that beach. I had my two sons in there years and years later, and they couldn't believe the distance that we had to go under fire, you know. But I got up there, thank God. A lot of guys never did. 2,100 guys, casualties on that beach.
How long would you say you were on the beach itself?
All night, they got out, the 16th went in there, I think, at 6:30. We went in at 7:30. We were up there before nightfall. And it was 2,100 casualties before nightfall.
And when you're on the beach, sir, could you talk to me about the fortifications that you see ahead of you?
They really, there was nothing, they had cut the barbed wires and everything, so we were crawling, more or less crawling back of each other. It was easy targets for the Germans, because we were trying to stay in one line, which was stupid, but you go somewhere else, you might hit a landmine.
Ahead of you or towards the side, were there pillboxes that you could see?
Well, the pillboxes were, yeah, they were the ones that were there. They were the ones that was killing the hell out of us. There were pillboxes all over that place.
Did you see any of the men attempt to take out any of the pillboxes?
Oh yeah, sure. A couple of guys shoved Bangalore torpedoes in there, blew the boxes up, but everything was in chaos. You're absolutely petrified. You don't know where the hell you're going or what's happening. And I had a machine gun tripod. I was the machine gun, and I never saw the gun. Never saw the gun that day. I had the tripod all day. Never saw the gun. You know where the hell he got hit somewhere. But it was a bad day. People say they have bad days. They don't know what they're talking about.
So you get off the beachhead before nightfall. At that point, is there a big regrouping process going on?
No, nobody regroups. We hit what they call the hedgerows, which we didn't know anything about. The hedgerows was a series of high hedgerows, thick, very thick. I guess there were many 50, 60-year-old hedgerows in there. And you could be on one side, the Germans could be on the other. You'd never know. It was a funny warfare in there. Right after the beach, we got these hedgerows, which we never knew anything about. Weren't trained for it, didn't realize what it was. And it was a bad area there for a short period of time. And then by nightfall, the Germans, they really took off. So
Describe to me what a hedgerow looks like.
hedgerows are bushes, just plain bushes, big, heavy, thick bushes. I guess they were about, I would say, from here to the desk would be, what, 4 feet? 4 feet thick? And they must have been about 7 or 8 feet high.
So it's not something that you can go through.
You go through with great difficulties. And they had pathways through on, each ends, because the farmers would have to go in to cultivate their fields. So there was passageways, But I guess you go through the passageways and the Germans were there, shoot you coming through.
So talk to me, what's the strategy when it comes to trying to take a hedgerow?
Nobody knew anything about hedgerows.
No, but I'm saying, what was the strategy that you guys came up with? How would you take the German hedgerows?
Well, it was difficult. You try to throw a hand grenade over the top of those things. Sometimes it didn't make it and it exploded all over the place. But we didn't even know if there was Germans on the other side. So it was a crazy. You didn't know what to do, but we got through them. We started going through each one and get a couple of Germans still in there. We started outnumbering them because they were starting to run. They started to get out of there. I guess they didn't want any part of the hedgerows either because it was a difficult place to fight a war.
Now, I know you mentioned earlier you were a multi-purpose soldier, you had different roles, but during the Normandy campaign, were you only a machine gunner?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Then I became a. After that, the first couple of days, I guess it was 2 or 3 days, the Germans took off, so we were lining up. We're going to march and get out of there and go to another forward position. And a plane came down. To this day, nobody knows whether it was a German or an American plane. He come down and he started to strafe us. He hit everybody. The mortar squad got hit bad. There wasn't a guy in there that had to shoot a mortar. So they asked us, anybody knows how to shoot a mortar? And I wanted to get out of the machine gunners anyway, so I went into the mortar squad then. And that's where I really stayed until the end of the war. I was on the OP most of the time.
why do you want to get out of the machine gunner so bad?
Well, machine gunners are, you're out there by yourself, see. It's a mortar guy, he's way in the back firing. But the guy in the outpost is telling you where to fire. So I was a mortar gunner for a while, which was nice and safe. But then I had to go on the front because there was nobody left. They were gone. And anybody that knew how to do it got up there. So I was up there most of the war.
So when you're on the front as a forward observer for the mortars, these are the 81 millimeter mortars?
Yeah.
What do you have to protect yourself?
Well, you go up to, what you do is go as forward as you can to see what you can see. And you crawl up there, and then if you see something, that's where you stay, and that's where you zero your mortars into. But you're going blind, you don't know what you're going to see.
But I'm saying, what kind of weapon would you carry?
Oh, you're on the outpost, you always had a carbine, you always had a 45. That's the two things we always had.
What kind of range are we talking about for the 81 millimeter mortar?
Oh, they go about miles. They go about a mile.
Miles?
Yeah, sure. You know, this way, that way, that way. just angle it, it'll go.
So, how would you communicate back with the mortar teams?
We had radios.
Did you have a radio man with you?
Yeah, I had a radio man with me.
Did he survive the war?
I lost 3 radio men. I lost 3. Yeah.
Do you remember how they were killed?
No, they were shot. I don't know if they lived. They went back, so got another one.
So, talk to me about the kind of targets that you were looking for as a forward observer.
Well, anything, any German position or any German guns. You just look forward and nobody there. You move forward until you see something and you zero in on them.
Can you talk to me about the first time you experienced a German artillery barrage?
Oh, well, that was on D-Day when we were crawling on our bellies. The 88s were all over the place. When you got 2,100 casualties on the beach, that's a lot of casualties, a lot of artillery.
But besides D-Day, sir, were there other experiences you had with the artillery, the German artillery?
Oh, sure.
Can you talk to me about some of them?
Oh, well, you know, it's all the time. And once you start moving up, and you get close to them, that's when they start shooting at you. And then you know you're getting close. So,
I mean, describe to me, what's it like to have shells going off around you?
Oh, to describe that, there's no words. You're petrified. The guy next to you, he's blown in a million pieces. You can't hear nothing. Your ears are all. You can't hear nothing when them things go off. So you don't know if a guy next to you is yelling for help or get out of the way or what. You know, it's an awful feeling. You can't hear one word when your ears go. It was a bad time, to say the least.
And what do you do to protect yourself when artillery comes in?
You crawl as close to the ground as you can, as close as you can to the ground. That's the only thing. Just hope they go over you. I remember once it was nice and quiet in the Hurtgen Forest, and an aerial burst went off a little away from me, and I had the last can of meal in my hand, and a piece of shrapnel went right in. It could have taken my hand off. Instead, it went right to the bottom of the can, and it was the last can of food I had that night. That was really close.
Were you ever wounded?
No. I was ripped apart by barbed wire all over the place, so crawling through it.
Was that on D-Day?
Well, yeah, D-Day, yeah.
But were there other times you encountered barbed wire?
Oh, yeah, we had barbed wire. There was a couple of times we ran into barbed wire. Yeah, not many. After D-Day, it wasn't too many.
Did you ever go on? I guess you wouldn't. What I'm confused about, here's my understanding. You were a Company D, heavy weapons company. You have the machine gunners and then the mortarmen. Like you mentioned, the mortarmen are in the back. Machine gunners are also quite a ways back. They're usually providing covering fire for the riflemen going forward, or they're at a fixated target trying to take out that target. So you, a forward observer with just a carbine, who do you hang out with? Who are you around? Or are you by yourself?
No, I had a section of mortars, I had a section of machine gunners. And you'd go forward, you'd take a radio man with you, and you'd give him the coordinates where you wanted the first shells fired, and that's what, you were up there and he's back there, and you tell him where to go.
So you're also directing the machine gun fire?
Well, not the machine gun fire, no, the mortars.
Just the mortars?
Yeah. The machine gun fire, he's on his own. What he sees, he takes out.
So how far back would you say the men you were directing would be from you, on average?
They could be quite a way, a couple of 100 yards.
And are you usually just calling it, sporadic harassing mortars, or were you able to find legitimate targets and you just bombarded that?
Oh, I wouldn't shoot unless I had a target. Just once you see something, that's when you zero in on them.
So give me an idea of the kind of targets you were looking for and the kind that you found.
Well, you'd be crawling around looking to see if you could see something. Then you see a bunch of guys standing around, maybe cleaning their weapons and things like that. They're nice and casual. They don't know anybody's around. And that's when you zero in on them, take them out.
And do you make a point to stay there after the fact to see the damage done?
Well, I keep going till there's nothing else to shoot at. Yeah.
Talk to me about the Hurtgen Forest.
Hurtgen Forest was an absolute disaster.
Why?
Well, it's in the forest, and they had the positions on us, and we're trying to go to them. So they're steady, right sitting there, waiting for us. So we're coming. They're standing. And we're moving towards them, and they're picking us out. And it was a huge loss of life in the Hurtgen Forest, a huge. And it was a bad battle. Those Germans were well entrenched. They had their 88 zeroed in too, so they were giving us hell. We lost a lot of men in the Hurtgen Forest.
Now, this is a really thick forest.
Oh, yeah. But when it got done, it was pretty well lit up. I mean, you could see the skies good.
It's an interesting way to do landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
What I want to know, though, is can you give me an example of what an average daily progress would be in the Hurtgen forest?
Oh, some days we couldn't move at all. I mean,
With the days that you did move, I mean, how
well,
would you
it all depends on how far they're going back, you know. And they'd go back, we'd start take out a few of the front men, and they'd move out, they'd go back, and then we'd crawl up there closer to them. And it was just one day after another. It was just hell, 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 hell. Just a lot of killings in that Hurtgen forest. And those 88s, oh, they done a job.
You know, being in a forest, that means that they're tree bursts.
Yeah.
Pretend I've never heard of what a tree burst is. What's a tree burst?
Oh, it goes off over there, and they could the shrapnel's flying all over the place, hitting one branch, the other, and then banging around, and it rips up everything in its path.
You never went on any patrols, or did you?
Patrol? As an observer, you're always on a patrol. You're out there looking for something, and you could call that a patrol, but I was on the outpost.
Would that happen? I mean, how often would you be going out to the outpost?
I was the outpost man.
I understand that, but I'm saying...
Every time we set up, and you know, I'd go out there, look around. If there's nothing there, move over, see if there's something else. Some days we didn't do nothing, and then other ways, there they are. Zero in, let them have it.
Did you have any interactions with the German tanks?
I've had tanks shooting pretty close to us a couple of times, but
Can you
we
tell me-
ran like hell, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that any more?
Well, them German tanks, I didn't want no part of them. We couldn't do nothing with them. And if they were in the area starting to shoot, we'd run like hell, yeah. Get out of their way. It's as simple as that. I don't want no part of them.
The turnover rate for a mortar section in the heavy weapons company, is it a high turnover rate?
No,
or no?
it's not, no. The observers were the ones that got, well, that's what they turned over. I had 3 radio men, 2 killed, and then the last one stayed with me.
So if anyone was going to get killed in a mortar section, it's going to be the forward observer and his radio man.
Or, once the 88s knew where you were and where you were shooting from, and then they'd go right after the mortars, sure. Because that's the one that was hitting them. They'd go right after them if they could find them.
Do you remember your company commander?
Carter, we had Carter there.
What do you think of him?
Oh, Carter was a great guy.
Why?
He was a Southerner, and he was an Army man, and he just ran the hell out of us to get us in shape. Sam Carter, captain. That's the only one I remember. I think he left us in the middle of the war. They took him back, and I don't remember the names.
You mentioned one incident where you thought someone was going to strafe you all. Did you guys ever get strafed from the German Luftwaffe?
Yeah, sure, right after D-Day. That's when they knocked out the mortar squad. Everybody in the mortars got hit.
I'm saying besides that, was there any other incident when you were with the mortars?
No. Those airplanes wouldn't strafe near where I was, because I was here, Germans were here, so they were scared to hit their own people. So they didn't. There was no plane strafing on the real front lines. They'd go after the back lines, supplies, tanks, things like that.
Did you have any interactions or experiences with snipers?
Oh yeah, snipers killed a couple of guys pretty near me, so they just didn't hit me. That's all.
What do you remember about that?
Oh no, guy from here to the door over there. He got hit right between the eyes. Nobody around, and he got it right there. That was a sniper. So.
You saw that happen?
Oh yeah, he was a friend of mine too.
Do you remember his name?
No, I don't. It's Teddy something. No, I don't remember his name. A long time ago, you know.
Only 75 years.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the Siegfried Line?
Oh, I don't think we had too much trouble at the Siegfried Line. We went more or less right through that because the Germans, they didn't have that manned as good as they should have because they were running. They were running home to protect their homeland. So Siegfried Line wasn't that bad.
Talk to me about your experiences during the Bulge, the Battle of the Bulge.
Battle of the Bulge. Let's see, we were, I was in Belgium somewhere. I can't, you know, there was so many different, you just keep going. You don't remember what battle they called it after.
Well, the Bulge, I mean, it would be more memorable because that's when snow, you know, it was in the winter.
Oh yeah, we had snow, all right.
So tell me about that.
Oh, well, the snow was a bitch. You couldn't dig a hole. And you were standing out there like a sore thumb with your uniform. I remember it was so bad, and we went through this town, so I went into every house, and I grabbed every sheet that I could find, and we're giving it to the guys, you know. But that's the only thing we didn't have no camouflage white uniforms or nothing. We weren't prepared for winter. A lot of guys got killed. You just stood out there like a big target. Your dirty old uniform on that white snow. Oh yeah.
Now you're saying a lot of guys got killed. Would that be mostly from artillery or small arms fire or mortars?
I guess artillery did the most damage for us.
Besides D-Day, were there other times that you were under small arms fire?
Well, I more or less under small fire all the time. I was up there. They weren't shooting at me, but shooting over because they couldn't see me. I was well hidden when I was looking at them. So they didn't see me, see them. I was pretty good at that.
You camouflage yourself?
Yes.
How?
Anything, trees, bushes, anything.
I don't get. What would you do to your body to blend in?
Oh, put mud on it. Put mud all over your face so it wouldn't shine. But, you know, you just went along.
You mentioned that in the Bulge, you couldn't dig a foxhole because the ground was so hard.
Oh, yeah.
So what would you do?
No, just push away some snow and lay down on the ground. Because the ground was so hard, you couldn't dig the ground. It was too hard.
Did you get frostbite or trench foot?
Oh, a couple of guys lost their legs, right? In my squad, 2 guys got their legs cut off from frostbite.
What did you do to keep your feet warm?
I did nothing unusual except I had like always 2 pairs of socks on and shoes, and it was freezing, but I just didn't. I always had a little cognac with me. And I guess that kept me warm. Always had cognac.
How old were you when this was all happening?
Well, let's see, I was 3 months to the day when the front of the landing craft went down. And I was in my 20th year, 3 months to the day.
So you were 19 when you hit the beaches?
I was 20 by 3 months.
Oh, sorry. You were 20 when you hit the beaches?
3 months into my 20th year.
Just turned 20th?
Yep. March the 6th to June the 6th.
What do you remember about Aachen?
Aachen.
What, before you answer that, what was the strategic importance of Aachen?
Well, it was the first big German town that we hit. And I was with Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown was a captain in B Company. And I was attached to B Company quite a bit. He was a New York nightclub bouncer when he was a civilian. He was a tough son of a gun. And he absolutely loved war better than anything in the world. He loved war. And he always wanted me with him because I was a New Yorker. We used to have when he went up to Crucifix Hill, he knocked out three machine gun nests up there on Crucifix Hill. He saved the hill. He got wounded twice on the hill. And he got the Congressional Medal of Honor, Bobby Brown.
But you were saying you were with him when you were in Auckland.
Oh yeah, I was with him in Auckland. Yeah, Crucifix Hill was right outside of Auckland. And they had a crucifix sitting on top of the hill. They were picking the guys off right and left. And somebody said, take that crucifix down. They had a periscope up, looking down, they're looking all over. They could see everything. So once we took the crucifix down, they didn't have too much to see, so that's when we started going up the hill. Crucifix Hill was a disaster. Bobby Brown got the Congressional Medal of Honor that day.
Did you see him in action?
I was with him.
But when you say you were with him,
He'd pass me up to Bangalore torpedoes, and you'd pass them up to him, you know. He'd shove them down there and blow that place up. This guy loved war. Great man, great man.
explain to me, why would you be with Company B? You said that happened often.
I was in I'm on outposts. So you'd go with the company, and then they'd say, all right, go out there and see what you want, and your mortars, see if there's anything out there. But I'd be protecting B Company with my mortars. You're always attached to you're attached to a rifle company.
Did like A Company would have another forward observer,
Yeah,
and C
yeah.
Company would have another,
Yeah,
and you would be with B Company
Yeah.
most of the time?
B Company.
So you're saying, obviously, 1st Battalion, ABC companies, rifle, they're rifle companies.
Yes.
D Company, heavy weapons, machine gunners, and mortars. And you're saying that D Company is never a solid unit, and said D Company is split up between A, B, and C.
Yeah, they send us over. You take B Company, if they want some mortars, give them mortars. You know, they want mortar protection, you're right there. You zero in on the target, let them have it.
So essentially, you were D Company by name, but with B Company.
Yeah, sure. They spread us around. D Company, the observers were attached to various companies to do what they needed.
That's very interesting. How do you get used to seeing men getting killed? I mean,
You never get used to that. D-Day was a horror. You're crawling over bodies. 2,100 casualties. You're crawling over bodies and parts of bodies. Bad day. It was a bad day.
all the training that you had, did any of that prepare you?
For that, nothing on earth prepared me for that. Nothing.
The men who made the invasion and survived later on in the campaigns, did you guys talk about D-Day, or was it just?
I was with the 1st Division. As I said, they were in Africa and Sicily, and then I joined them in England. So now, at the end of the war, those old-timers, they got discharged first, so they went. And I got all new kids coming in, Oh, and they thought we were great. We didn't have to do anything after that. They did everything for us. That was the good time of it. Army of Occupation. I did that for about 6 months. Then they sent me home.
What life advice do you want to give to future generations?
I got 3 sons and 3 grandsons. And just live a good life. That's all. They're all good religious kids, married, got children. I got 7 great-grandchildren, So they're all good kids. What advice? Just stay out of trouble. If you don't hang around with the wrong people, and you'll be all right.
What do you want to say to all the men who died overseas in World War II?
I can't talk. May you rest in peace.
Mr. McHughes, how do you want to be remembered as a person?
As a person,
How do you want to be remembered?
well, I'm not the best guy in the world, but everybody loves me, my family, and that's the important thing. They all love me, my family.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. It was an honor to meet you. I really wish I could have spent more time with you.